Greetings, duelists, and welcome to another video. Uh, so it's been around 24 hours almost since the announcement of our Forbidden Limited list. Sadly, I wasn't there to live react to it and give first initial thoughts. Was swamped at work, and literally my work shift started within the first hour of this ban list being revealed. So I had literally no chance to record or to show my implications of this. However, I figured I would do something a little bit different from what we've done on other videos involving ban lists. The first thing I gotta do is I gotta go over the prediction list that I did. This video was posted around 1 month ago, and I kind of want to talk about everything I predicted and what happened and what did not happen. And the reason I'm doing this is because it kind of helps us, the players, tinker around the mind of what goes on in Konami's end when it comes to these ban lists. The first thing I need to mention is that I did predict that this ban list was going to take into effect on the third week of January. For the amount of time that it was we were waiting for it, and the way this format was structured, I felt like this was very similar to TOS format. And for those who don't know, TOS format ban list happened on January 20th. Our list got revealed on the 21st. So I almost got it right at that instance. I also said it was going to be a very strong list. It was going to be something that was going to impact what was currently happening in the format. I did not arrive to that conclusion on this video. I did arrive to that conclusion after, shortly after, because the TOS format ban list was very huge. It slaughtered every meta contending deck, and that format wasn't a very oppressive format. That format was very similar to this one, where you just had a couple of really strong decks that cycle their matchups one against the others. But how MBT said it on his ban list video, Konami needed to pave way for newer sets. Everything that was coming out in Burst Protocol was not going to do as well if the meta contending decks were as strong as they were currently. The only support that probably would have been strong enough would have been branded, and that would have just bolstered the branded Draco Tail deck to an exceptionally high level. Now, let's go over the list itself. I predicted Herald, Zombie Vampire, and Red Ramson ban. What did we get in return? Well, Herald of the Arclight is gone. A Malice card is gone, but it was not Red Ramson. And to my surprise, they didn't hit Zombie Vampire. I would have thought that card would have gotten on the list, especially since Mitsurugi is still alive as an engine. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Another card that took me by surprise was the Torrent Barrier statue. Not saying that it didn't need to be on the list. I do have one thing to add to that. I guess I'm gonna address the elephant in the room. Where is Archlord Christia? Archlord Christia is just as bad as Barrier Statue of the Torrent, and that card is going to be played in Branded. And we've already had multiple tops with Christia in the side deck with Anthony Shu's Gem Knight deck, which he topped I think 3 to 4 YCSs with. So I think that one was a little missed under the radar. We're gonna have to wait and see how effective that card will be, like in the future metagame. But I figure if one of the best decks is going to be playing a Floodgate, it should have been on this list. Battle Statue Torrent is less popular. I have to applaud Konami for Harpy's Featherstorm. That was a really big one. I didn't have that much of an oversight of how popular this card would have been post-side in the Fur Hire Canine deck and in Radiant Typhoon. But, you know, big massive props to Konami. They one-upped me on that one. Alright. So, for limiteds, I had Jokol, Wyvern. At first, I put Arthalion in here. I also brought up in this video that it could have been other Dracotail names, but some names needed to get hit, like for certain. I thought about Arthalion because that would have been like the heaviest hit to Dracotail, and Dracotail needs a heavy hit with how strong the support is going to be as a side engine for it. I also predicted pre-preparation of rights. So let's go what happened with that prediction. We got Jokol. Jokol was hit on the list. So that we got that one right. There were 2 Dracotail hits, and neither of them were Arthalion, which I think is fair. I think Malulu and Ketu are good enough hits. I will say it right now. That won't stop Dracotail branded from being the best deck. That deck is incredibly high, high potential, and these cards paired alongside it is just gonna be like just as strong. Holisu getting limited. That comes with another prediction that I had. If you can see, it's semi-limited list. That one was not on my radar. And I am glad that they hit Holisu. Like, they acknowledge that Vanquish Soul is a very fun deck to play. But they don't need to be a super oppressive turn 0 deck. Holisu is one of the best turn 0 cards like any archetype could have. Is stronger than Halfness and is stronger than 5 mana. But it is harder to set up than those other 2 aforementioned cards. So, yeah. A case for Canine also hit. I feel like that was very, very justified. Canine needed another hit besides just Jokol. Snatchy being limited was not in my radar. That did happen in the OCG. That one was very strong. So my reasoning for not hitting Snatchy, well, I put Snatchy on semi-limited instead of limited on my prediction. The reasoning for that was I felt like with Herald of the Arclight being gone, Yami would have been significantly weaker with their end boards, and you're gonna have to be more creative with whatever you want to create as interruptions in the Yami strategy. But in all fairness, Yami was the more popular of the 3 Justice Hunter decks. It was one of the decks that showed the most results. And both the pure variant and the Mitsu variant were very strong. So I could get behind this Snatchy being at 1. However, there is a really big problem for Yami. I think Yami will have a really big problem in the foreseeable future. And the big problem is, how are you dodging Forbidden Crown? This card just became the strongest main/board sideboard card against Yami. Yami has almost little to no way to play around this card. One way you would play around this card is if you had multiple Snatchies on board. Now there are no multiple snatchies on board, so there's no real way to play around Forbidden Crown, which is very unfortunate because I think this card is gonna be very, very popular once it arrives in the TCG. So that's it for Snatchy. Habakiri being limited, I felt like pre-preparation of rights would have been a slightly better hit. And I'm not saying it's a better hit against Mitsu in general. I mean that with more support confirmed for Mitsurugi in the future, I didn't think they would actually go after any card in their archetype. Going after Habakiri is better than going after pre-prep. However, if I had a say in this, I would have hit both Habakiri and pre-prep. Still a really good hit. I have no issues with this hit whatsoever. That was a very heads up on Konami's end. Semi-limited, we got Rolling Lockbird. The moment this card got hit in Master Duel, I had a small hunch that it would have been the case. But I also am surprised that Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring and Dominance Impulse are not in semi-limited. I felt like those two cards probably would have been warranted more as a priority than Rolling Lockbird. However, I am very happy that Rolling Lockbird got hit. I will make a future video talking about this a little bit more because I actually had a script planned before this ban list talking about Droll and how Droll is a card that aged poorly, stronger than many other cards. And I wholeheartedly understand why it's a 2. Konami here, the TCG, is basically testing the waters. They want to see if moving Droll off the list incentivizes more of those ridiculous decks that just adds multiple times a turn. And there are some dangerous ones, like Danger Dark World is like one big example. Whenever I see Droll like in a discussion, I also have to think about decks like that one, because if those decks go through and there are almost no real hand traps that can stop them like efficiently, like you might just get like a non-game involving those kind of strategies. I can see the argument from both sides where Droll is a necessary evil against certain decks, while also seeing the argument that Droll is just very, very powerful when it's paired with M-Words, which is one of the main reasons Max C is in the Forbidden list to begin with. As for my predictions, all of these cards were involved on this Forbidden list, but none of them were involved in semi-limited. Before I talk about Rosin and Sticker Soul, I'm gonna talk about Snatchy first. Like I feel like Snatchy being limited was a little bit too harsh. It's gonna be really tough for Yummy to see meta contention moving forward. That's my prerogative on that. All right, so now we got the unlimits, and before we talk about the unlimits, let's talk about our predictions. Well, my predictions rather. I predicted Astrograph, Charvara, the 2 white and black dragons, Lacrima, Linkuriboh, Into the Void, Monster Reborn, and the 2 purely memories. If you look at every single card on the unlimited section, I don't see why they are still limited or semi-limited. Like, without Electromite, I think Astrograph is more than okay. And I think Astrograph is multiple copies in the OCG already. And Charvara is another one I would have liked to see like unlimited. Like, Unchained is not a hand trap deck. And in these last couple formats, we've noticed that hand trap decks are just better than board breaker type decks. Board breakers will be slightly better in this next upcoming format. especially with Radiant Typhoon. However, I don't think that justifies like still keeping Charvara at 2. Linkuribo and Lacrima. It's a shame. Well, I guess we'll talk about that a little bit later. With stuff like Snashy being limited, I think more copies of Linkuribo is welcomed. This card does almost no difference from 1 from being a 3. Into the Void. This card is basically worst Upstart Goblin. Monster Reborn. I know that was an odd one, but I did say in my video that it is a card that nobody's playing right now. And it's probably a card that not many people would prioritize, even being unlimited. We also got the 2 memories. Purely hasn't done a lot in like recent years. Let's look at the list. We got the 2 white. We got the 2 white and black dragons. Right, those cards did make it on the unlimited list. Dark Grepher was one that I completely forgot about. That card is still limited, and maybe that's a good thing for Orcust players. I don't know which other strategy is gonna play Dark Grepher besides Orcust, and it's probably a big maybe in Orcust. I don't think that card is really needed in the deck. We got Rosin and Stake Your Soul right to be on the list, but they both got unlimited instead of semi-limited, which is quite a big surprise. Usually Konami are very tame on these returns, especially since they know Vanquish Soul had a really strong track record in the past months. Crestron inclusion coming back, it really makes a lot of sense with the Canine hits. Snatch Steal and Change of Heart both returning. Those 2 cards are coming back for the same reason as my prediction on Monster Reborn. But those cards are less strong than Monster Reborn. So it kind of makes sense those cards taking priority. Zodiac Trident is very... It's not an unwelcomed one by any means. The best variant for Zodiac would be the Tri-Brigade variant, and we haven't seen play from that variant like at all. So I don't think pure Zodiac is gonna do well like in the future metagame that we're gonna have. Although, let me know in the comments if you're interested. I am thinking of building a Zodiac control deck, meaning Forbidden Crown. Just playing all 3 copies of Trident. If you guys are interested in something like that, feel free to let me know in the comments. So, yeah. These are all the hits, or all the cards on the list. A lot of cards in this list, like a lot of them. I think it's over 20 cards, which I am very happy about. Like, it is exactly 20 cards. 20 cards are in this list, which is a good number. And some of these changes will be significant. Now, what are going to be the best decks moving forward? So, I think we're going to have something very similar to what happened here in the OCG. I feel like Mitsurugi is still a meta contending deck. I think Dracotail is going to be very, very powerful with the new support. Sky Striker, we haven't seen too much of this deck in the TCG, so maybe it will bounce back. Vanquish Soul for sure will bounce back. I think the returns of the cards we got for Vanquish Soul are stronger in the TCG than the OCG. Yes, we do have 1 Holy Su, but I'd rather have 3 Rosin than 3 Holy Sus and 1 Rosin. And you already are noticing that with 1 Jokul and 1 Rosin, Vanquish Soul is still doing well in the OCG. Yummy is a strange one. The reason Yummy is still doing fine in the OCG is because one, there are multiple variants of it. Two, they still have Herald of the Arclight. Three, they also have Borreload Savage Drag. And that's a card we do not have in the TCG. So, we're gonna have to see what happens to Yummy here in the TCG. I don't think it will be as good as it is currently in the OCG. Branded for sure is going to be a meta contender. If you want to see my opinion on Malice, I did post an earlier video. It is the latest episode of Welcome to the Underground. That will tell you my opinion on Malice. Radiant Typhoon, I think that might also be another meta contender. It's probably gonna be like where the numbers where Sky Striker is at currently here in this like pie chart is probably gonna be the Radiant Typhoon numbers. And we also have a few other outliers like Fur Hire and Luna Light, and like maybe Crystal will make a comeback. But yeah, that's it from me. I hope you found this informative to your liking and understanding. Overall, I am very satisfied with the list. I do wholeheartedly think that it was far from perfect. Like, if I were to make a few changes here, I probably would have added Ash Blossom and Dominus Impulse in here in semi-limited. I think I would have added Archler Christia in Forbidden. I think that card is going to see play, and that card is just as bad as one of few cards that are in this list. Maybe pre-prep to 1 is something I would have added to Habakiri being limited. I understand that Mitsurugi is not that bad as its pure deck and not as a hybrid, but by keeping pre-prep, you are welcoming the hybrid to still be played. Whether or not that will be efficient, we'll just have to wait and see. But it's rather safe to not take that chance than to take that chance, right? And maybe 1 or 2 other hits to Draco Tail would have been better. Like either the Arthalion limit that I mentioned earlier without hitting Molulu and Drake Ketu, or adding something like 5 mana to this list. I think it is kind of funny that we hit Holisu, but we did not hit 5 mana, which plays a very similar role. Although the power level of both decks are probably not gonna be the same. Alright, that's it from me. I hope you found this informative to your liking and understanding. I am repeating myself with that, but you know, sometimes it do be like that. Keep practicing and keep dueling.